A couple of months back, we talked about this new product that HEADRUSH released called the HEADRUSH Prime. And it was this big old board.
Yep.
It had a bunch of bells and a bunch of whistles. And we were kind of stoked about the prospect of it. I feel like there were some cons, but lots and lots of pros.
Yeah.
The two big things that we were a little hesitant on were primarily the size and the cost, because they were both large or larger than some of the competition. Well, turns out this week, HEADRUSH released a brand new product, and they call that the HEADRUSH Core. And when we reviewed the original product, it was, this is a solo gig dream device. I wish it wasn't the size of my coffee table.
Right.
Because it's bigger than a full-size Helix.
Yeah.
Well, the HEADRUSH Core is exactly what we were looking for. It is the exact same brains, the same size touchscreen, all of the stuff that the Prime has in a smaller footprint.
Yep.
It's a little bit bigger than the Quad Cortex, and maybe slightly smaller in kind of space than the HX Stomp XL. So it's kind of a Goldilocks kind of shape and size.
Yep.
So the top points are, it's a multi-effect amp modeler vocal processor unit, which is kind of the value proposition for this, is that it doesn't just do what the other guitar modeler, amp modeler, effect modelers do. It also has all of these built-in vocal effects, including Antares Autotune, which has never been put into a floorboard like this before.
Right.
Microphone emulations, onboard amp effect cloner, so it can clone gear like a Kemper would. This one also allows for gapless preset switching. Unlike the Helix and the HX Stomp, there is no drop-in DSP. So the Prime and the Core have the same guts, just in a smaller footprint. So that's kind of a big deal. And some of the other stuff that it has that the Helix line doesn't have, it's got Wi-Fi and it's got Bluetooth. So you can use that to onboard new presets and IRs. You can use it to import songs. It's got
updates.
kind of, and it allows you to slow audio files down, modulate them, loop sections. Like, it's a very feature-rich product.
Yeah, the looper in it is top-notch.
And as far as the differences, because it can't all be good. There's no expression pedal, which the Prime has, and you only have 5 switches versus the 12 on the Prime.
Yeah.
That being said, HEADRUSH is also selling a standalone expression pedal that you can add to that unit for a reasonable amount of money. And then you're looking at prices. You're looking at $999 versus $1299. So I'm impressed.
Me too.
I think it's rad.
When the Prime came out, I couldn't find evidence that the 2 vocal effects that I most need. I use just a little auto-tune, not strong, but just a hint. And then vocal harmony, I lean on heavily in my acoustic shows.
Yeah, same.
And what I want is chromatic auto-tune. I want it to pull me to the nearest chromatic note if I need the help. And I want the key of the harmonizer set by the guitar.
Yep.
That's how I currently have it set up in my TC Helicon Voice Live Play, and it's working fine. And I was not able to find evidence that the Prime could do that. Nobody answered my questions about that. There were no demo videos that showed those things happening. But with the Core, I did finally see a demo of the vocal effects that showed that that setup is possible. So that settled my one question about it. For me, it's troubling. This device is troubling for me. It's a budgetary problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and so in a lot of these discussions, people are like, why are you talking about a piece of gear if you don't have one to review? And the reality is that we're just not cool enough for companies like HEADRUSH to send them to us.
Yeah.
But if you want to see a fantastic walkthrough of that product, Andertons did a phenomenal demo. And they did an entire section of what the vocal effects sound like.
Yeah, brought in a singer.
A real life singer.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm such a dyed-in-the-wool Helix fan that seeing this stuff, I gotta admit, I was a little green with envy. I was like, this is a pretty neat piece of kit. And kind of like you said, it solves a bunch of problems, because right now I've got my board set up for my normal gig rig, and to switch gears to do the solo acoustic thing, I've got to take my wireless unit off and put my Voice Live on and do all the switching around. Well, shoot, for $9.99, I can keep those rigs totally separate and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. So this is the question for me. I have wireless I'd want to use for it in all cases, whether it's acoustic or band. And my current setup for acoustic is a pedal board that has the TC Helicon, the wireless receiver, the AirTurn Bluetooth page turner, and a power distributor, and that's all it has. And then I add next to it the Quad Cortex when I'm playing with the band, playing electric. I'll just go on record saying the Quad Cortex is a great, great, great piece of gear, and the pace of updates has been disappointing. Feels like I'm not quite its target audience. I don't know. To think that I'd move on from it is not blasphemy, in my opinion. I've liked it. It's small. It's easy to tote around and gig, but I'm not total fanboy over it. So the question for me is, if I were to move to one of these and have it be a standalone floor unit, I would need to have some kind of sidecar thing that had, I'd like to have an expression pedal. That'd be nice, actually.
Yeah.
I'd need a place for my wireless receiver to land, and then I would need some kind of snake cable thing to go between them. If I got a pedal board, I may as well put the one thing that none of these can do, which is my TC Helicon Freakout feedback pedal, which is so musical and gorgeous and delicious. And I just haven't touched it since I've gone to a modeler and away from real pedal board. But putting that in an effect chain would be great. And so I could build a snake that goes between this little sidecar board and the main driver, the core, for instance, if that's what I chose. It doesn't really slim down my loadout, unfortunately.
My whole scenario is I wouldn't necessarily be cannibalizing one rig to do the other gig. And the dimensions, I just looked them up. It's just over 16 inches wide. It's about 9.25 inches deep.
So that's a size that's hard to picture putting onto a pedal board.
Yeah, or it would have to be a weirdly shaped board.
Yeah.
Or something larger,
Yeah.
where it's kind of a part of an ensemble,
Yeah.
like you were kind of describing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not as svelte as my current setup. But there's two sides to it. I like the idea that it's an all-in-one and it kind of does all the things I need to do, but it's also all your eggs in one basket. In my setup, if the modeler goes out, my HX Stomp decides it doesn't feel like powering on, I can do the whole gig from the Voice Live and vice versa.
True.
There's pros and cons, but as far as this particular lane of product, I think they have really nailed this particular gap in the marketplace. And, we don't look at these kinds of things as like, well, this is now better than what Line 6 or Fractal Audio is putting out. This is another product that pushes the modeling world as a whole forward.
Yeah.
So we're stoked on this. We want more of this kind of stuff because it's just going to breed more innovation in the market.
For sure. And the way it brings in vocal processing, vocal processing, the only player in that space, I guess Boss has a couple of things, but TC Helicon has really been the dominant player in that space for a long time. And they had these all-in-ones going back many, many years, decades actually. And they've stopped doing that. Now there's single pedals. There's a harmony pedal and a chorus pedal. And so they get to ding you for $1.99 for each of them.
Right.
And you could build a best of breed thing out of those and only have the effects you need. But to think that somebody's going to come along and have a multi-effects guitar pedal that also does really, really high quality vocal processing it's a very attractive concept.
For sure. 100%. So yeah, I would love to get my hands on one and just kind of see what's going on out there.
Sure.
So HEADRUSH, if you're listening, holla at your boy.
You remember when the first HEADRUSH pedal board came out and we were all like, well, it's nice, but it's no Helix.
Yeah. I feel like our take was, well, it's real pretty.
Yeah.
But can it X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
And I think the initial demos weren't necessarily wowing people.
Yes.
That's the other thing, is that by the time I bought a Helix, like it had been out for a couple of years. And so like all of these people and all of these users had figured all of this stuff out, because it was a new platform. And those things just take time.
Yeah.
And, the HEADRUSH has had time to mature in this space. And there's plenty of people who are using them that sound incredible.
I haven't heard officially, maybe you have. Now that Core and Prime are out, is the original HEADRUSH sunsetted? Is that?
So HEADRUSH has the pedal board, which is kind of like their flagship Helix style product. The gig board is kind of closer to what an HX Stomp is. No expression pedal, less buttons, that kind of thing. They've got the looper board, of course, which is specifically geared towards people who are doing instrumental looping. The MX5, which is kind of like between the pedal board and the gig board. So you've got like an expression pedal built into it, maybe kind of like what the Pod Go is doing. And then you've got Core and Prime, which are their big boys.
But all those previous ones are still on the market. You can still buy them.
Yeah, it looks like. I think they've got their specific hardware that they've been using, and it's just they're iterating software, just like all the
It's
other
interesting.
ones.
At these price points, I would have thought that the Core and Prime would be replacing previous SKUs, but maybe not.
Correct. So there you have it. Hopefully this product does well, and we can get our hands on it sometime soon. Cool beans.
Cool beans.